Andrew Berry, cheers to you. I salute you for getting Lamar Jackson out of the AFC North by giving Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed contract, sending owners across the league with brown in their pants because they don't know what to do about it. So Andrew Berry, cheers to you. Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson with the latest on your Brownies. And we've got some fun topics on today's show. And we'll start things off by looking at the biggest story in the NFL right now, which impacts the Cleveland Browns because it's the Baltimore Ravens just next door in the AFC North. Now, Lamar got tagged yesterday. The Ravens applied the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson, which, if you don't know what that means in English, it means other teams can make an offer sheet. The Ravens have a chance to match it and then get Lamar, or they can let the team that offered the contract sheet sign Lamar and in exchange for 2 first-round picks. Within minutes of the non-exclusive franchise tag being applied, numerous teams announced that they will not be pursuing Lamar, which was very strange because there were over half of the NFL, I would say, half of the NFL teams pursuing Deshaun Watson a year, 2 years ago. And then here's Lamar Jackson, who is a great quarterback. There's no denying it. He's won the MVP for a reason. But he hits the open, not the open market, but he hits the market at least. And all of a sudden, all these teams would rather stick with, come on, Desmond Ridder or whatever Washington's got going on right now. Didn't make sense to me. So you did a deep dive, and it looks like Watson's contract, no surprise, is scaring a bunch of owners off here. Now, Mary Kay wrote a great article about this, and I wanted to share some clips of it with you guys. Here's what Mary Kay wrote. But chances are some team will make Jackson an offer he can't refuse, especially if it contains that coveted full guarantee. If he receives the full G, which I don't know, Mary Kay could use that cool type of lingo, the Ravens will either have to stray from company philosophy against it or risk starting all over at quarterback. Mary Kay would later go on to say, if he doesn't receive the offer that he wants, there's no guarantee he'll show up for camp on time under the tag, and things could get ugly. The Browns might have definitely scared, but they might have gotten Lamar Jackson out of the AFC North with that fully guaranteed contract that Baltimore has no interest in offering. I don't know what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson. We had a whole bunch of teams, and we'll look at in just a second, come out and say, we're not pursuing Lamar. So if that's the case, things should be relatively easy for the Ravens, right? Lamar Jackson would play under the franchise tag, and maybe next year they give him a big contract. But Lamar tells me, Lamar, he doesn't sound like a guy who wants to play under the franchise tag, right? He's done a lot for the Ravens in 5 years, and he deserves more than the $32 million franchise tag he would play under. So would he sit out, right, and force the Ravens to give him that fully guaranteed contract, which they desperately so badly don't want to do? Or is another team going to change their mind and make an offer to Lamar Jackson? And then the Ravens are posed with 2 options. Match that offer, which is probably north of what they want to give him, or do they let him go? Get 2 first-round picks back, which 2 first isn't bad, no doubt about it. Less than what the Browns had to give up for Deshaun Watson. But you're moving on from an MVP quarterback entering his prime. That's something the Ravens definitely are not interested in doing and restarting at quarterback. Now, we already had a numerous amount of teams say that they are out on Lamar Jackson. The Commanders, the Falcons, the Dolphins, the Panthers, and I think the Raiders as well, all said within 10, 15 minutes of the non-exclusive franchise tag being applied that they are out on Lamar. It's a bit fishy, to say the least, right? All these teams immediately saying we will not be pursuing Lamar Jackson. Why wouldn't you? He's a known commodity. Whereas the draft, if you're picking, 7th or 8th, like the Falcons and the Panthers, yeah, you could maybe get a quarterback, but who's to say that quarterback will be as good as Lamar Jackson? I think this is a bunch of owners getting together going, we're not going to let Haslam and the Browns completely reset the way quarterbacks are played with fully guaranteed contracts, and we're going to stand by you, Baltimore, and we're not going to make an offer for Lamar because we don't want this to become a habit, and then it'll be our turn in a couple of years to have to give a fully guaranteed contract. The Browns made one for Deshaun Watson, and the effects and the waves coming from it have been impacting the Ravens, no doubt. Now, when it comes to Deshaun Watson's contract giving fits for the Ravens, boo-hoo. Cry me a river. I don't give a shit, right? For once, the Browns seem to be not at the wrong end of bad fortune or bad luck in the NFL. For once, it seems like it's the Ravens, right, who find themselves on the other end of the stick, where it's the Browns who screwed them over. Oh, feel like I've been there before when the roles were reversed. Yeah, not going to be very upset for the Ravens if they lose out on Lamar because Watson's fully guaranteed contract. Honestly, even if Deshaun Watson doesn't live up to the fully guaranteed contract, a part of me, a little cynical, will be a little happy that, hey, if Watson's contract was the cause of the Ravens losing out on Lamar, I'll take some happiness and win. Like, that's a win in its own right, even if Lamar or even if, Watson doesn't play up to a $230 million contract, which right now is looking not necessarily like a bargain, all right? It's not pennies on the dollar, but with how much money Daniel Jones got, I think I'm pretty happy with $46 million for Deshaun Watson. Now, we've got more ground to cover on today's show, but today's Browns Report is sponsored by Fume. We all have bad habits, and we certainly know how hard they can be to kick those bad habits. Our sponsor, Fume, is on a mission to accelerate humanity's breakup from the bad habits that consume far too many of us. Fume is a natural diffusive device that uses plants and behavioral science to help you trade out your negative habits for a positive one. I didn't expect a whole lot out of Fume when we first got it here at Chat Sports, but the minty sensation is very popular around the office. Now, the Fume Journey Pack comes with 3 unique flavors for you to enjoy. It's got maple pepper, white cranberry, and crisp mint. I know that the guys in the office rave over the crisp mint, the maple pepper as well, and even if you like cranberry, white cranberry to go along with it. Fume is not a vape, by the way. It's a non-electronic device designed to transform your negative habits. The easiest way to stop a bad habit is to switch to a positive one, and Fume is designed perfectly to do just that. So head to tryfume.com/chatsports and use code chatsports to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com/chatsports and use code chatsports to save an additional 10% off on your order today. Getting back to the quarterback carousel that's going around in free agency right now, the Browns, I tweeted this out yesterday, and it went pretty viral for at least my Twitter standards. The Browns are paying Deshaun Watson $46 million a season. That's only $6 million more than Daniel Jones is making after he signed that 4-year, $160 million contract. So, Andrew Berry, cheers to you, right? When you look at the highest paid quarterbacks per year in the NFL, this is just their total contract divided by the number of years, no guaranteed, no incentives or anything like that. Deshaun Watson's already at number 4, right? He has quickly kind of fallen behind Russ and Kyler, and that's not out of the ordinary. The NFL is a one-upping league. It's not necessarily based on how good you are is where you should be paid. There's no correlation, right? Like, Mahomes being 5th doesn't mean he's the 5th best quarterback. But Daniel Jones being tied for 7th, that's a red flag. The Giants, I think, are going to regret this. I don't think Daniel Jones is a top 10 quarterback. I don't think he should be paid like a top 10 quarterback. I think he benefited. I mean, don't get me wrong. He had very few weapons last year, and he won a playoff game, so kudos to the Giants. That was definitely not just sheer luck, but I'm not counting on Giants and the G-men or Daniel Jones to repeat that. And $40 million for him, he just threw 15 touchdowns last year. I know Watson didn't have a spectacular season last year, only 6 games, and I'm not going to stand here and act like those were 6 awesome games. Definitely saw a lot of great things in those games that don't have me overly concerned for 2023. There needs to be improvements, right? I just can't put out of my mind what happened in Week 18 against Pittsburgh, where the Browns only put up 14 points, and the Steelers, which were looking like a receding team, all of a sudden kicked the Browns' butt, more or less. But last year, I had high expectations for Trevor Lawrence to look like the first overall pick. And we saw that, right? This year, my everyone sleeping on him guy is Deshaun Watson. We're talking about the 2020 NFL passing leader. I get it, some time has passed, and he missed a good chunk of time, but I am not concerned about Deshaun Watson continuing to play mediocre at best football like he did for stretches in 2022. He had some phenomenal plays. He showed how elusive he can be, how tough he can be to bring down, the crazy arm talent, the accuracy, everything a coach is looking for in a quarterback. We saw that in 2022. Now a full off season where he is getting all the first team quarterback reps. I think there's a lot of confusion of people love to say, or Browns fans love to say, that Watson's going to get the full off season. He got that last year. Yes and no. He was there. He didn't come over in August. But Jacoby Brissett was the QB1 in training camp in the preseason OTAs because Brissett was presumed to be the starter for most, if not all, of 2022. Now that it's going to be Deshaun Watson, knowing that going into week 1, this offense is going to be tailored around him and installed from April moving forward, that's a big deal in the NFL. We love to ignore the fact that, hey, you get traded, can't you be an impactful player immediately? No, there's a lot of time and preparation that goes into installing a player to be successful in your offense or defense, and Watson getting that time from the start as the starting quarterback, it's going to pay off greatly in 2023. But what do you guys think? Will Watson return to his Pro Bowl form in 2023? Let me know yes or no. I'm typing Y for yes. I fully believe that. I am getting drunk on this. I am all the way in on Deshaun Watson getting back to that Pro Bowl top tier quarterback status in 2023. Next up on the show, I want to switch gears and talk free agency. That's just around the corner, basically here if you ask me. And Javon Hargrave looks to be like he's on the way out of the city of brotherly love. So could Cleveland be the next stop in his career? We'll look at that in just a second. But like I said, NFL free agency is coming. Winter is coming. And you don't want to miss a thing. So don't only just subscribe, but if you're already subscribed, turn on the notification bell, right? Hit that notification bell icon, turn it on, select all. That way, when breaking news or rumors drops, you are not left behind. You get the notification that, hey, the Browns report is going live because Cleveland just signed Javon Hargrave, or any type of video that comes out. Make sure you got the notification bell clicked to on and select all. That way, you get every little bit of free agency news and rumors. Now let's talk about Hargrave. So the Eagles did not place the franchise tag on him, which wasn't overly expected, but it was definitely in consideration for a little bit. The rumors coming out of Philly, Schefter talked about this morning, is that they expect to lose a lot of players in free agency. They're due to give Jalen Hurts a big contract extension, and that's going to come at the price of losing one of their two marquee players. Now, could Javon Hargrave look to reunite with Jim Schwartz in Cleveland? So when you look at Hargrave's last 4 seasons, I mean, he's coming off an 11-sack year, right? He was one of the best interior defensive linemen, and that's exactly what the Browns need. And in 2020, he overlapped with Schwartz for just 1 season. So I won't stand here and act like 1 season is 10 years and it's 2 lifelong buddies getting together. But it's a very common thread in the NFL where if players and coaches work well together, they want to work again. They want to work together again in the future. Here's the only hiccup I have with signing Hargrave. It has nothing to do with the player himself. I would love to see him with the Cleveland Browns in 2023. The Browns are not the only team that wants him, though. And with Daron Payne getting tagged, his value just went up, right? Because now he's the number 1 defensive tackle. And there are a lot of teams that are looking for help on the defensive line. The Chicago Bears, who have the most cap space by a mile and then some, Hargrave looks to be like their number 1 guy with Payne getting tagged. So if it comes down to a bidding war, the Browns can't compete with the Bears or the Falcons or some of these other teams with ridiculous amounts of cap space. That's not to say that the Watson contract screwed the Browns over. No, it's just that the Bears and the Falcons aren't paying a quarterback, really. They've got 2 guys on their rookie contracts. That's very affordable for them in free agency. So if there's no Daron Payne and no Javon Hargrave, who else is out there? Draymond Jones, a Cleveland native, looks to be like he is on the way out of Denver. He was not franchise tagged, so I don't think the Broncos are going to be very aggressive in bringing him back. I like Shy Tuttle a lot. He is a lower cost signing. Kalen Saunders, by the way, from the Chiefs, he's a name to watch for. I like Dalvin Tomlinson. He's a more geared run stopper than pass rusher, and that's fine with me, right? This run defense was awful last year, so bringing on Tomlinson to plug up the gaps, I'm all aboard for that. Teair Tart is a restricted free agent, but with the Titans rumored to maybe be trading Derrick Henry, they're looking at a full rebuild, and that might be letting some of these guys kind of walk in free agency instead of sinking some money into them when they're not trying to win right now. Now, before we get on out of here, some quick housekeeping notes I want to get to. Kevin Stefanski went on the Part of My Take podcast. Great podcast. I love it. And it's always fun when coaches or players get on there. If you listen to the podcast, you know what they're all about. If you don't listen to them, it's very tongue-in-cheek. They're always joking. I mean, they spent a couple minutes talking about a dog funeral on the show, for crying out loud. But there were some, concrete-ish takeaways because players and coaches hop on there kind of letting their guard down, but knowing that they're not going to reveal anything interesting or anything real serious for that matter. But I had 3 real takeaways from it. One, Stefanski still has a plan to run the football, right? They asked him, do you plan to air it out or run the ball more? And he was like, both, right? He also talked about how you don't necessarily need to have a great pass game to open up play action. That's a bit of a fallacy, as he called it. He also talked about how when the Browns beat the Steelers in the playoffs, by the way, last team to win a playoff game in Heinz Field, that was Cleveland's Super Bowl, right? He heard that from a TSA agent traveling one day in Cleveland, and he said, no, that's not my Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is my Super Bowl. And that was really refreshing to hear because I understand how long it's been for the Browns at that time to win a playoff game, but for Stefanski to say, that's great and all, and I love beating the Steelers in the postseason, but the Super Bowl is my goal. It's a good reminder of the Browns aren't just settling for, well, at least we're better than we were 10 years ago. All around a great interview. I highly recommend it. It was about 45 minutes long, and it really showed a nice personal side of Kevin Stefanski that we never see when he talks to the media. I mean, he's usually a pretty closed book, but Stefanski really opened up. I thought it was a really good interview. Before we get on out of here, our random Browns player of the day. This one comes in from JY Sports. Defensive tackle Billy Wynn, former 7th-round draft pick, almost 10 years ago now, even further back. Trivia, what team was he traded to? Anyone? Traded to the Colts. Completely forgot all about that. But Billy Wynn, definitely a random Browns player. Shout out to you, JY Sports. That's going to do it for us on today's show. Hit me up on Twitter if you ever want to talk NFL, want to talk Brownies, at Matthew Petey. I've got that link for my Twitter handle in the comments and the description of today's show. I'm going to sign off and catch up with you guys later with more Browns news and rumors.